but we get another saint that's kind of special to the United States, St. John Neumann, or sometimes pronounced Neumann. I'll talk a little bit more about him, but he does have kind of a connection to our diocese also, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But just a reminder about our schedule, that there are confessions this evening, starting at 5:30 and going till 6:15 at St. John's, and then there's Mass at 6:30, followed by the Rosary. So that's this evening. And then tomorrow morning, there are confessions from 7 to 7:45 in the morning at St. John the Baptist. There's a Mass at 8 a.m. Normally, immediately following Mass, we would have exposition of the Blessed Sacrament with adoration going throughout the day. But there is a funeral tomorrow morning, so adoration will be postponed until after the funeral. So right about noon we'll start. So if you or someone you know is used to coming in those morning hours to for adoration, please let them know that we won't be starting until noon, around noon, on Wednesday, and we'll go throughout the rest of the day. And since it's the first Wednesday of the month, tomorrow we will have a holy hour starting at 6 that will live stream, and that concludes at 7 p.m. So, and then on Thursday and Friday we have Mass at 8 a.m. So it's kind of the schedule for the rest of the week. As I mentioned, we get another kind of American saint. He was an American citizen, but not born in this country, born overseas. He had a German father and a Czech mother. He was born in Bohemia, which was part of the Austrian Empire at that time. But St. John Neumann, I'm going to use that Americanized pronunciation, I guess, Neumann. Like I said, some people like to pronounce it Neumann. Maybe that's more the German pronunciation. But he was born in 1811, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of the time frame. He kind of went through the normal education system, but he was, he was recognized pretty quickly for his intelligence and also to his gift for languages. And so eventually he enters the seminary, and the year he was supposed to be ordained a priest, the bishop there canceled the ordinations because he already had so many priests that he didn't need to ordain anymore. That's an interesting problem, so to speak, to have, or a challenge to have. So St. John Neumann took that opportunity to immigrate to the United States because he had this desire to come to the United States to do missionary work, and so he does. And he settles he comes to New York, and the bishop is very happy to see him. He does some missionary work, I think, in the Buffalo and Rochester areas. He's very successful, wonderful preacher, but he's kind of on his own, and he longs for community life. And so the Redemptorists are newly arrived in the United States, and so he inquires about joining them. And so he's accepted into the Redemptorist order. And he's working around Pittsburgh area, and let's see, he began his novitiate at the Redemptorist Church of St. Philomena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and took his vows on January 16, 1842. His knowledge of 8 languages made him a popular preacher in both Pittsburgh and Baltimore. For 8 years, he worked zealously as pastor, missionary, and parish priest in both places. While in Pittsburgh, he served as novice master. And so, recognizing his holiness and apostolic zeal, the European superiors appointed him vicar for all the Redemptorists in America, with his headquarters at St. Alphonsus Church in Baltimore. There, he took a major role in defending and directing the Oblate Sisters of Divine Providence as a group of women who were trying to educate African American children. And later, when he became vice provincial for the Redemptorists, he brought the School Sisters of Notre Dame to the United States to teach in the many schools he had already established. It was during this time that he became a citizen. Also, probably, as far as I can tell, I'm not sure of all the connections that he had to the diocese or the dates that are involved with this, but it's probably during those times of missionary work that there is evidence that he was in our area, in our diocese. And so there is a St. Alphonsus Church outside of Norwalk in a little community called Peru. and there's a small cabin there that's part of what was part of a home, or the home where they believe that St. John Neumann, there's pretty good evidence that St. John Neumann had visited there, and they think that he probably would have even said Mass in this small little building. And so it was across the street from the current parish, I think, originally, and they moved it onto the parish grounds, and they use it as kind of this little prayer chapel or prayer cabin. Groups can meet there and things. It's not, like I said, it's not very large, but it's an interesting place. So there's more information about that, but that's kind of his connection to our area, that through letters, or there's various documents that indicate that he would have been in that area, and that probably he did visit that home, and most likely had said Mass there. So the deanery of that area, that's most of Huron County, a little bit of southern Erie County, is St. John Neumann Deanery. So that's probably his connection to us, and that's probably about the time. But recognizing his abilities, he was then made the fourth bishop of Philadelphia in 1852, much to his surprise. And he did amazing work there. That he found where he set about building more churches and schools, completed the unfinished cathedral, introduced the 40 hours devotion on a scheduled basis, and founded a new congregation of women's religious, the Sisters of St. Francis of Philadelphia, who, along with several other groups of sisters and brothers, staffed his crowded schools. In his short tenure as bishop, attendance at Catholic schools more than doubled. And despite all his activity, he still made time to write 2 German catechisms, which were mandated and approved by the Council of Baltimore, which he attended in 1852. At the age of 48, completely exhausted from his labors, he collapsed on the street and died on January 5th, 1860. And he's buried by his own request at the Redemptorist Church of St. Peter, where his body lies beneath the altar in the lower church, which has become known as the National Shrine of St. John Neumann. We want to ask for his intercession. Let's see, he was Pope St. John the 23rd declared him blessed, but the actual ceremony of beatification was done in 1963 by Pope St. Paul VI, who also canonized him on June 19th, 1977. So that's kind of a little story about St. John Neumann, kind of a little connection to our diocese. So as we continue to look out for each other and pray for each other during this new year, we'll ask St. John Neumann to intercede for us with many blessings. So may God bless you abundantly this day, and